The Galactic Combat Academy floated in deep space, far from any home world. It was a place where the strongest species in the galaxy came to learn how to fight together. Every cycle, new recruits arrived full of noise. They argued loudly. They showed off their strength. They bragged about past battles. The instructors were used to it. But this cycle, one group was different. The humans arrived without ceremony. No loud voices, no proud speeches. They walked in lines, eyes forward, moving as one unit. When other recruits stared at them, the humans did not look back. They simply stood still. Instructor Krelth noticed them immediately. He had trained warriors for more than 40 species. He could read fear, anger, and pride easily. But the humans showed nothing. During the first training drill, recruits were ordered to speak their plans out loud. Most species shouted over each other. Everyone wanted to be heard. The humans did not speak. They listened. They watched. They wrote notes on small data pads. When the drill began, they moved fast and with purpose, completing tasks with clean and simple actions. Some instructors laughed. "They are slow thinkers," one said. "They are scared," said another. "They lack confidence," whispered a third. The humans did not respond. On the second day, the training became harder. Gravity was increased, air was thinned, lights were dimmed to simulate battle damage. Many recruits complained. Some even refused to continue. The humans stayed silent. Sweat ran down their faces. Their breathing grew heavy. Still, no words came from them. They finished every drill and returned to formation without a sound. Instructor Krelth felt uneasy. Silence in battle usually meant one of two things: fear or extreme discipline. Krelth could not decide which one it was. So he pushed them further. He assigned the humans to joint squads with loud and aggressive species. The aliens shouted orders at the humans, expecting arguments or anger. The humans followed the orders exactly. No questions, no protests, no confusion. When mistakes happened, the humans adjusted quietly. When missions failed, they did not blame others. They simply stood and waited for the next order. Whispers spread through the academy. "Why don't they talk? Do they even understand us? Are they hiding something?" On the fourth day, Instructor Krelth called the human squad leader forward. "Why are your people always silent?" he demanded. "This is a combat academy, not a monastery." The human met his eyes. His face showed no fear. His voice was calm and steady. "We speak when it matters," the human said. Krelth narrowed his eyes. "And when is that?" The human paused for a moment. "After the fighting is over," he replied. Laughter echoed across the training hall. Other recruits mocked the humans openly now. Some made jokes. Some called them weak. The humans did nothing. That night, Krelth reviewed the training records again. The humans had perfect completion scores, 0 panic responses, 0 discipline violations, and still almost no recorded speech. Krelth felt a strange chill. He realized something was wrong. Species that feared combat talked too much. Species that lacked control made noise. But the humans, they were waiting, and Krelth did not know why.
The third week of training began like any other. The academy announced a large-scale combat exercise. All recruits were told it was only a simulation, no real danger, no real enemies, just practice. Most species relaxed. The humans did not. They checked their gear carefully. They reviewed maps again and again. They tested weapons and communication systems in silence. Other recruits laughed at them. "It's just a drill," some aliens said. "Humans are too serious," others joked. The exercise began. Warning lights flashed across the station. Simulated enemy ships appeared on the main screens. Instructors shouted orders from command decks. Recruits rushed to assigned positions. At first, everything followed the plan. Then, something changed. Long-range sensors detected movement outside the exercise zone. At first, the signals were weak and unclear. The instructors assumed it was sensor noise. The humans noticed. One human officer quietly marked the data. Another adjusted his position without asking permission. No one spoke, but their body language shifted. They became still, focused, alert. Minutes later, alarms screamed. This time, they were real. A hostile fleet dropped out of warp directly beside the station. Real weapons powered up. Real shields failed. Panic spread fast. Recruits shouted. Orders overlapped. Some squads froze in place. Others ran in the wrong direction. The instructors rushed to regain control. "This is not part of the exercise," someone yelled. Explosions shook the station. Hull panels buckled. Artificial gravity flickered. The humans moved. Without waiting for commands, they split into small teams and took positions along key corridors. They sealed blast doors. They redirected power to defense nodes. Still, they said nothing. Enemy boarding pods smashed into the outer hull. Alien attackers poured inside, firing wildly. Several recruit squads broke and retreated. The humans advanced. They moved through smoke and darkness, weapons raised, steps measured. Each human seemed to know where the others were without speaking. An alien instructor watched in disbelief as a human team flanked the enemy perfectly, cutting off escape routes. Another team disabled an enemy power unit in seconds. No shouting, no confusion, no hesitation, only action. The station shook again as enemy ships fired from outside. Fires broke out. Emergency lights painted the halls red. The humans did not slow down. When an alien squad was pinned down, the humans moved between them and the enemy, taking the fire without complaint. When ammunition ran low, they shared silently. One instructor tried to order the humans to fall back. They did not respond. Not because they ignored him, but because they were already moving where they were needed most. After 40 minutes of brutal fighting, the enemy force began to collapse. Boarding parties were eliminated. External ships were disabled or destroyed by coordinated defense fire. And then, suddenly, it was over. The alarms faded. Smoke drifted through broken corridors. Survivors gathered, shaken and exhausted. The humans returned to the central hangar. They stood in formation, weapons lowered, armor damaged, faces calm. Only then did one human speak into the open channel. "Area secure." The instructors stared at them in silence. This had not been a drill. This had been war, and the humans had been ready.
After the fighting ended, the station fell into an uneasy silence. Smoke drifted through broken halls. Emergency lights blinked slowly. Injured recruits were carried to medical bays. Many aliens sat on the floor, shaking, unable to speak. The humans moved quietly among them. They helped the wounded. They sealed damaged doors. They restored power lines using simple tools. Still, they said very little. Instructor Krelth watched them from the command deck. His hands trembled slightly. He had seen many battles, but this one felt strange. Too quiet. Sensor reports began to arrive, and that made the feeling worse. Large parts of the battle were missing. Camera feeds had gone dark during key moments. Audio records were incomplete. Motion trackers showed sudden gaps, as if fighters had vanished and reappeared. It was impossible.
Krelth gathered the instructors and began reviewing what data remained. What they saw did not make sense. Enemy units disappeared without recorded engagement. Defensive lines held without visible coordination. Damage reports showed precise strikes at critical enemy systems. Someone asked the question no one wanted to say out loud. How did the humans do this? Krelth had no answer. He called the human squad leader to the command room. The human entered calmly, armor still marked with burns and cuts. "You acted without clear orders," Krelth demanded. "Explain your actions." The human looked around the room, then back at Krelth. "We followed the plan," he said. "What plan?" another instructor snapped. "There was no shared command." The human paused. "There was," he replied. "It just wasn't spoken." Krelth dismissed him, more confused than before. As recovery operations continued, rumors spread across the station. Some recruits claimed they never saw the humans during the worst fighting, only the results: destroyed enemies, secured corridors. Others swore the humans moved like shadows, striking and vanishing before anyone could react. Medical scans added another mystery. Human soldiers showed high stress levels, but no panic damage. Their minds had stayed calm even under extreme danger. That night, Krelth ordered a full combat log reconstruction. Every second of data was pulled from backup cores. Every fragment of sensor input was restored. Even damaged memory crystals were repaired. It took hours. When the first complete sequence played, the room went silent. The humans had predicted enemy entry points before the first boarding pod landed. They had positioned themselves in advance, waiting in darkness. No orders were exchanged. No signals were sent. Each movement was timed. Each strike was clean. When one team engaged the enemy, another moved automatically to support. When one path failed, a new route was already in use. It was not chaos. It was control. Krelth felt cold as the truth formed in his mind. The humans had fought this way before, many times. The logs showed moments no one had noticed during the battle. A human stepping into enemy fire without hesitation. Another adjusting tactics mid-fight without stopping to think. Every action flowed into the next. The final report ended with a simple summary written by a human officer. Silence prevents confusion. Silence saves lives. Silence means trust. Krelth leaned back in his chair, stunned. The battle the instructors thought they had seen was only a small part of the truth. Most of it had happened unseen, and that frightened him more than the enemy ever could. The command room was silent as the final combat logs loaded. Instructor Krelth stood at the center, surrounded by other instructors and senior officers. No one spoke. Everyone watched the screen. The logs began from the moment before the attack. Human teams were already moving. Before the first alarm sounded, the humans had sealed weak corridors. Before the enemy boarded, humans were already waiting near key systems. The logs showed timestamps that made no sense. They were always early. One instructor leaned closer. "How did they know?" he whispered. The logs continued. Enemy boarding pods struck the station. As doors exploded inward, humans attacked from the sides, not the front. They aimed at joints, power packs, and control units. Enemy soldiers fell before they understood what was happening. Still, no voices, no shouted orders, no warnings, no panic. The humans moved as if they shared one mind. The logs switched to internal human data. Heart rates were high but steady.
Stress levels were extreme, yet controlled. Brain scans showed focus, not fear. Krelth felt a chill. These humans were not reacting to danger. They were operating inside it. Another log played, showing a human team sacrificing position to draw enemy fire. The enemy followed, straight into a trap set minutes earlier by another silent team. Perfect timing, perfect trust. An instructor slammed a claw on the table. This kind of coordination needs constant communication. Krelth shook his head slowly. Not if the plan is already known. The logs revealed something else. Each human carried a simple battle framework, memorized long before the mission. Not a fixed plan, but a shared understanding. Each human knew how the others would act under pressure. They did not wait for orders. They anticipated. One log entry stood out, marked as a human doctrine file. It was short. When fighting starts, words slow you down. Noise creates doubt. Silence means everyone already agrees. The room felt heavy. The instructors realized their mistake. They had thought the humans were quiet because they lacked confidence. In truth, the humans had already accepted the risk of death. They did not need encouragement. They did not need permission. They only needed the moment. The logs showed the final phase of battle. As the enemy began to retreat, humans did not chase blindly. They predicted escape paths and disabled engines with precise strikes. The enemy fleet collapsed in confusion. Victory came not from strength alone, but from control. The screen went dark. No one spoke for a long time. Finally, Krelth broke the silence. "This is not training behavior," he said slowly. An instructor asked the question everyone feared. How many wars created this? Krelth did not answer. Instead, he opened a restricted archive attached to the human logs. It contained fragments of human history, cities burning, planets under siege, long wars where mistakes meant extinction. The humans had learned something early. Talking did not save lives. Action did. Silence was not emptiness. It was discipline carved by loss. Krelth looked around the room. "We thought we were teaching them," he said quietly. The instructors understood the truth now. They had been watching veterans pretending to be students. And the most dangerous thing about humans was not how they fought. It was how calm they were while doing it.
Instructor Krelth could not sleep. The combat logs stayed in his mind, playing again and again. The humans had not fought like new recruits. They had fought like survivors. So he did something unusual. He requested access to human military history. The file was massive. At first, it showed early human conflicts, wars fought on their own world, loud battles, long speeches, proud armies marching into open fields. The humans had once fought like everyone else. Then the records changed. Cities burned, skies turned dark, enemies attacked without warning. Civilian worlds became battlefields. Noise became a problem. Enemies learned to track sound. Signals were jammed. Communication meant death. Humans adapted, or they died. Krelth watched footage of old human wars, soldiers moving through ruins, speaking only in gestures, units advancing in silence through smoke and darkness. Mistakes were punished instantly. A shout gave away a position. A delayed order cost hundreds of lives. A single moment of panic destroyed entire cities. Humans learned fast. They trained to act without speaking. Every movement was practiced again and again until it became instinct. Every soldier learned not only their role, but the role of everyone around them. Silence became safety.
The records showed something worse. There were wars humans almost lost. In those final battles, silence was not a choice, it was survival. Entire human units operated without signals for weeks. They memorized plans before deployment, knowing communication would fail. Trust replaced orders. If one human moved left, the others knew why. If one stopped, the rest adjusted instantly. No questions, no hesitation. Krelth felt a deep weight in his chest. This was not a trick. This was trauma turned into discipline. The logs also showed the cost. Human soldiers carried heavy mental scars. They learned to control fear, not remove it. Silence helped them do that. Speaking made fear real. Silence kept it locked inside. Krelth finally understood the calm faces at the academy. The humans were not relaxed. They were controlled. He called a meeting with the instructors. "They are quiet because they already accept death," he said. "Once you accept it, fear loses its power." Some instructors looked uncomfortable. Others looked afraid. Krelth continued, "They do not talk during training because training is where you learn to trust silence." One instructor asked softly, "So what happens when humans finally speak?" Krelth did not answer at first. He replayed the moment when the human officer had spoken after the battle. "Area secure." Just 2 words. Those words had ended a war. "When humans speak," Krelth said slowly, "it means the fighting is over." The instructors reviewed one final human document. It was short, written for new soldiers. "Noise is for the unprepared. Silence is for those who know what comes next." Krelth closed the file. He now understood why the humans never defended themselves against insults, why they never argued, why they never explained. They had learned long ago that explanations do not stop bullets. Only action does. The silence at the academy was not weakness, it was history. And history had taught humans a lesson the galaxy was only beginning to learn.
The Galactic Combat Academy changed after the battle. Repairs were finished. Damaged halls were rebuilt. New armor plates covered the station's scars. But something else had changed. Something deeper. The noise was gone. Recruits still arrived from across the galaxy, but they were quieter now. They had heard the stories. They had seen the reports. They knew what had happened when the humans stayed silent. Instructor Krelth stood before a new class. His voice was calm, serious. "There is a new rule at this academy," he said. "Pay attention." The room fell silent. "In battle, words are tools," Krelth continued. "But tools can break. Noise can fail you. Panic can kill you." He paused. "Watch the humans." The recruits turned their eyes toward the human squad, standing at the side of the hall. As always, they stood still, calm, silent. Training began. This time, instructors did not demand loud plans. They tested patience. They tested trust. They tested discipline. The humans led without speaking. During drills, alien recruits began to copy them. They used hand signs. They moved with care. They learned to listen without sound. Mistakes dropped. Panic fell. Survival rates rose. The instructors watched with growing respect. One day, a senior council arrived from the Galactic Command. They wanted to understand why the Academy's success rate had suddenly increased. Krelth showed them the combat logs. He did not explain. He let the silence speak. The council watched humans moving through fire without shouting. They saw perfect coordination without orders. They saw calm where there should have been fear. When the logs ended, the council chamber was silent. One counselor finally asked, "What do we call this doctrine?" Krauth answered simply, "Human silence." The council approved it immediately. Across the galaxy, military academies changed their training. Loud command systems were reduced. Silent drills were added. Trust-based tactics replaced constant communication. And everywhere, the same warning was given. When humans stop talking, pay attention. The humans never commented on the change. They trained, they prepared, they waited. Months later, another threat appeared at the edge of known space. A powerful enemy fleet, larger than the last, moving fast. The Academy prepared to respond. As alarms sounded, recruits looked to the humans. The humans checked their gear. They said nothing. Krauth watched them and felt something new. Not fear, relief. Because he knew what silence meant now. Silence meant plans were ready. Silence meant fear was under control. Silence meant the humans had already decided how the battle would end. As the fleet jumped into combat range, a young recruit whispered, "Shouldn't they say something?" Krauth shook his head. "No," he said. "If they start talking, then we should worry." The human squad moved toward their ships. The hangar doors opened. Only one human turned back and spoke into the open channel. "Follow our timing." Then the channel went silent. The fleet launched. And across the galaxy, one truth was now known by every species that studied war. When humans are loud, they are still learning. When humans are silent, the war is already won.